So I just really want to start with, I think, the most important thing, which is you have definitely made me want to be a teacher.
You did want to...
I'm joking.
You
I'm
don't...
joking.
All right. You would be the first one.
No, but what has this journey been like for you? Because you really never know when you're making a film what the reaction is going to be. So what has it been like when did you realize there was a strong reaction to this movie?
Oh yeah, that's a good question actually, because I made this film thinking this is going to be my last film. Like, really, I was like thinking I'm such a mediocre artist, like I don't have anything to say. There were so many self-doubts, and the only thing I knew was that we wrote the script and gave it to people, to possible partners, and all of them said, we don't believe in this. So we got turned down a lot. And I mean, you're struggling with your own, you assume that your your own mediocrity. Do you say that?
Mediocrity.
Mediocrity. You're dealing with that, and on top, all these people tell you that the stuff you wrote is nonsense. We were told that this is not cinema. We were told that this is television, and that's a maybe. So I really had to fight for the idea. So and I thought to myself, well, I'm just gonna make this film the way I want it, and if I never get to make another film, that's okay. Like, if it's a bomb, it's a bomb. I don't care. And then the film was finished, and we gave it to people, to possible, world sales. And I don't know if you know the film business, but in the film business, a film needs to have a world sale that, takes the film to the important festivals and, sells it to territories. So we gave it to the to world sales. That was in 2022. The film was just finished, and all of them turned it down. All of them were like, we like the film, but it's kind of, it's too local. We don't see international potential. And I was sure that, okay, this is nonsense. Of course, in the meantime, you show it to your friends and your family, and everyone's like, great. And you're like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, like they don't want to be rude. But then something happened. The Berlin Film Festival, like the curators of the Berlin Film Festival, saw the film, and they invited the film to the festival, not saying what section. They were like, we are considering this for competition, but we don't know yet. Like, we need to see a couple of other films. So they made us wait. So we waited almost half a year. And then in December, Berlin starts in February. It's about to start tomorrow, I think, even. And in December, they told us it's not the competition, it's just Panorama. And we were like, oh, man. So we went into the festival, Panorama. And
do you want to tell people what that section is?
That's the section which is like not the main section, but where other films go. And still a good section though. It's the Berlin Film Festival. But we were like, yeah, I wanted to be in that competition. Anyways, so we're having our premiere, and at the same time, the same day, you have these screenings for buyers. Buyers are the ones that, the territory. And in the meantime, we went with a little company from Belgium called B4 Films with a sales agent, Pamela Leu. I've never heard of her before, but she saw the film. She said, I'm going to do it. I said, all right. And then she called us and she said, I just sold the film to 10 territories. And we thought, is she kidding? Like, this is a bad joke. She said, no. And every other territory wants the film, and Sony Pictures Classics is interested. And I don't know if you've seen the logo, but Sony Pictures Classics is like a very, very, they have like the most delicate, do you say delicate? No, distinguished films. They have like filmmakers such as Pedro Almodovar or, Michael Haneke. And all of a sudden, it was like, wow, what's going on? And then, we won two awards in Berlin. The film went on to win 5 German film awards against All Quiet on the Western Front. and to this day, it's a surprise to me that I don't know how all that happened. It's really.
So what did it mean to you when you found out you were going to be the German selection for the Academy Awards?
I mean, you've seen the film. It's a small, tiny film, and there are all these other films that have bigger budgets, and there are, and when we got selected, I mean, I was like, guys like Wim Wenders were in the same round. So, and then he got selected from Japan, but still, like, there are these masters, Christian Petzold, German cinema, and they picked our film, and of course it was like. It's still, to this day, it's like a fairy tale, and I just and now I I have a new problem. I'm like, am I ever gonna make another film that is, So it goes on, and we're always like.
You're very confident.
I'm never confident. Like, that's the problem, really. I the insecurity is a part of this job, I think, and there are directors that are very confident, but I always question my work, and I always try to, even when I'm on set, I'm like, yeah, how can I do this better all the time? Like, is this good enough? And sometimes it gets to me. Sometimes I'm like, it eats me up, and then I need someone, and that's most of the time that's my producer saying, you know what, your insecurities are actually good, embrace them.
I agree with that. So what is it like being in Hollywood with this? Like, I'm assuming you went to the Academy luncheon. I'm assuming you were like meeting idols of cinema. So what has this process been like?
I mean, yesterday I was at this nominees luncheon, and you get on stage and take this group photo, this class of 24 kind of photo. And on that stage, there are guys like Steven Spielberg and Marty Scorsese and Christopher Nolan and Greta Gerwig. And I'm standing there thinking, like, somebody needs to pinch me. It's just, I mean, and on the other hand, people are like, you've been here before, because we won a Student Academy Award with a short film a couple of years ago. But still, I always thought that you have to have big budgets, or, be incredibly, to do these big films, to be there, to be able to be there. But I was standing there and I was thinking, what I really love about America and about LA is how they worship this industry, how they worship their own culture of filmmaking. That it's like I felt like this is a family, and everybody's like celebrating the sacred thing called cinema, and that's really something that we don't have in Germany or in Turkey.
Now that everyone has seen the film, making sure it worked, what do you think would surprise people to learn about the making of your movie?
That it's actually easier to work with kids than one might assume, as long as you pick the right kids. I'm gonna tell you a story. So Leonie, the main actor, I wanted to work with her, and I brought the screenplay to her, and she read it, and we met in Berlin. And the first thing that she said to me was, I like the screenplay, but you have to, and I'm going to do it, but you have to know, I do not like children. And I said, why? And she said, I have 3 little brothers. I know children can be sweet, but they can be little shits as well. So I know what kids can be like. And I said, okay, don't worry, I'll take care of the kids. So I went into the casting process of those kids, and it was like I would gather kids in different groups and have them improvise with me. And in those improvisational sessions, I would see what kid is actually on and what kid is smart, and what kid you can work with. And then I would gather them again in the presence of cameras to see how natural they are. And in the third round, I would have personal interviews with them. And in those interviews, I would basically tell them 3 things. One of them being, listen, I'm not your boss. We're colleagues, and I expect you to have like work ethics. I want you to know what's going on in the scene. I want you to prepare. I want you to go to sleep early. Second thing, we're a family. We take care of each other. We're brothers and sisters, and we if somebody doesn't feel well, everybody goes and shows their support. And the third thing would be everybody earns the same. There are no VIPs. And I told this to the production as well. So it was basically communism. Everyone earning the same. And, I made sure that the kids don't have this, oh, I'm an extra, you're a wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing.
It happened to you, right? Huh? It's probably my mom.
No, it's a real thing hitting, I think, everyone's phone right now.
All right. So and we went into that film with that mindset. And of course, when you work with kids, it's not always easy. They are kids ultimately, right? And sometimes they would go like, Ilker, what are we having for lunch? How much longer do we need to go? And all. And one day I got kind of not mad at them, but I was like, guys, here's the matter of the truth of the matter. Do you say truth of the matter?
Sure.
Yeah. We're all gonna die. But this film, it will be around, and your kids and grandkids will see it. So you better make sure to get this right now. And they got the idea. No, and it was I tried to be
American director does not say that.
I know, but I tried to be their friend and be aware of their vulnerabilities and of what they can take, but at the same time not treat them as kids. I was like, what I said to them was like, we're colleagues, and I meant that. And if they mean it, I don't want to be asked how much longer do we need to go and what do we have for lunch, then. And so I told them what we're doing here, we're putting ourselves to the service of a higher thing, of art, and it's not about you or me or the star. It's about the common thing. This is the sacred thing right here, right now. Not the red carpet, not the gala, not the premiere. Right here, the process of itself.
So one of the things that we have 5 hours, I believe, to work with those kids in Germany where you were filming. So was that? How did you make that work because of the limited hours?
So I don't know if you've ever experienced this kind of feeling of when you're tired and you will actually want to lay down, but then you go on a walk or on a run and you feel just, better again. And it's the same time I dealt the same way with the time pressure. So I thought if I rush now, they will feel it. They will feel the pressure. And that's why I thought I need to take off pressure. So I would start the day with a conversation every day. And I would, just take my time, ask them about life, ask them about what they dream of, what their fears are, what's your relationship to your parents, how hard is it for you to apologize, why is it hard for you to apologize, and stuff like that. I would tell them about my own world, about my own relationship to my mom, how she can get me mad, and we would just have a genuinely interested conversation in each other. And they would crack me up because they would say things like, oh, today you want to, today you dressed like you buttoned up, and that probably means we're going to do something severe or something like that, So they see every part of you. And this is also what in our research, what one of the teachers told us. She was like, I have to be aware of how I dress because they see everything. So I got up in the mornings and I would get in front of the mirror. Usually when I go to set, I just wear anything. But I would actually think about what they will think when I stand in front of them.
You researched about teachers and schools before you started writing and made the film. Was there anything that you learned that really surprised you, or anything that you were like, this has to be in the movie?
Yeah, like what had to be in the movie, if you've noticed, is that two things always happen at the same time. So when Carla is talking to her colleagues, she's also doing a Skype interview. When she's talking to the secretary, the post guy comes into the scene. When she's talking on the phone in the end to the mother of Oscar, two kids come out and ask if they can go to the toilet. So this kind of constant pressure of doing things simultaneously was something that we saw when we did the research, I sat down in schools, and I was just really impressed by what these people have to deliver and how much pressure they have to endure with, the stuff that they're doing anyways, the stuff they, need to prepare, the whole politics of school, the parents, of course, the kids, of course. It was just crazy how much multitasking they have to deliver, and we tried to put that in a film. Also, there were really certain things that we saw in the research that just made it their way into the film. Things like the clapping, for instance. I saw that with one teacher. She was doing this clapping game, and then I talked to the kids about it. And one of the kids said to me, without the teacher hearing it, she said, "It's actually pretty embarrassing." And so that scene came along. Or, for instance, I asked the secretary, tell me about a moment where you have an intimate, tell me about an intimate moment with the students. And then she said, well, sometimes girls come in here and they ask for tampons. So that scene, two dudes don't come up with that. It's research. So
one of the things that I found interesting was that, and I forget the main teacher's name. I apologize. Yeah, with Miss Nowak, you never show her private life. You never show her car. You never show her apartment, who she's dating, nothing. And so talk a little bit about the decision of keeping everything at the school.
Yeah, so it was kind of also an idea that I had to protect towards the financiers, because they were all like, why don't we see anything of her? We don't know who she is. Who is that person? And I said to her, I said to them, if you look at her decisions, if you look at her decisions, you will actually see who she is. And that's what I genuinely think. It doesn't matter if you're a dog person or a cat person, or if you eat cheese or fruits in the morning. It doesn't matter. These things don't really say anything about a person. A character is revealed when that character has to make a decision, and even more so when that decision is taken under pressure. That's my opinion, and that's how we went with this. And I think it was not just that. It was also I was trying to shape my own production circumstances. I wanted to have time with my actors. I wanted to be in this particular school and not leave it and lose time with moving a set or anything. So it was both. It went both ways.
When you saw the shooting schedule and you knew what was in front of you, what was the day you had circled in terms of, I cannot wait to film this? And what was the day you had circled in terms of, how the F are we going to film this?
Well, how the F are we going to film this was definitely in the gym. Those scenes were because when you give kids a ball, there is no more controlling. And I turned to my DP and I said, I think this is slipping out of my hands. And she said, well, then you have to let go. She's a very, very, very wise woman, very, very fantastic person, and very experienced. She's 20 years older than me. And then I let go. And, they played ball and we filmed how they played. And then at some point they were exhausted. And then I gained control again. So
I'm fascinated by the editing process. I ask this of every director I speak to. Who did you first show the movie to for honest feedback, and what did you learn from those early screenings that impacted the finished film?
That's actually a question nobody ever asked me. Yes, we were talking outside about common questions. I think one of the first people I showed this film to, of course, was my producer. I had a bet going on with him, and because he said to me, do you really need this last final shot? Do you really want to
of him being pulled out with the police?
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was like, "Are you really gonna shoot this?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to shoot it. Let me shoot it." And he said, "Let's have a bet. You're not gonna use it. Here's 100 euros." I said, "Okay, bet's on." And then we edited the film, and I kind of I was like again insecure, and I showed him the cut, and I said, "I'm not sure about this ending." And all he did was pull out the money and give it to me and said, "You just leave it like that." Because, to me, it was like, I was thinking in like filmic grammar. It's like you break the grammar of the film because it's not her perspective. It's the first time there's a scene without Carla. And he said, no. You know what? We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it because you don't want to be one of those European art house films that end on a silent note. And I had just made a film like that. and I said, all right, so we kept it. And then the second person who I actually showed it to was a colleague of mine, Christian Schwocho. He's a director. He did a lot of, he did The Crown and all of that stuff. And he saw it and he said, well, it's a great film. And I said, really, Christian? He said, yes, it's a great film. Don't worry, it's going to be good. And that was like the time where we got all these rejections. So I tried to show it to people of whom I know that they are going to tell me the truth, no matter what.
Did you end up with a lot of deleted scenes or no?
The funny thing about the deleted scenes was that in the writing process, we had like this kind of rule. We had like two rules, basically. One of them was never leave the school. And the second one was, if there is no conflict in a scene, then we probably don't need it. And I'm saying probably because there were some scenes in the screenplay that I shot, but that didn't make it to the film. And those were actually the ones without conflict. Yeah.
So there were no really big changes in the editing room then?
No, yeah, usually what you do in the editing is like you edit a film in a rough cut and you have like 120 minutes and then you're looking for ways to trim it down to 100 or even to a 90. And I've been editing my whole life. Like I started out editing, so I always, with my editor, I have my own keyboard and she's there and we work together. And I said to her, let's just try and make a rough cut of 80 minutes and then work our way up to 90. And she said, are you for sure? And he said, yeah, let's pull out the machete. And then I just threw away scenes because the problem with the other way is that you get attached to scenes the more time you invest in them. Like the more time you're investing in a scene, the more time you invest in making that scene work, it gets harder to say bye-bye to them, to kill that darling. And that's why I like to, just be very rough in the beginning and just keep it as short as possible. And I saw this film by the Safdie brothers called Uncut Gems. That film gave me a heart attack,
I think it gave everyone a heart attack.
Right. And I adored it because those were like that film, you can see that they are the same. Like they don't want to bore their audience. They don't want to, and I hate, like, I realize it's probably social media or anything or something that my patience is just going away. I don't have patience anymore. Like, And the same with my own film. Like I watch it and I'm like bored, and I'm like, and that's why I tried to keep this short and fast paced.
Well, it's interesting because I've spoken to a lot of directors and they talk about how, like, say it's a comedy and there's a lot of jokes in it. They've seen the jokes, 1,000 times. They no longer think it's funny, and they will cut really hysterical jokes that then they have to put back in after they do a test screening, and they remember, oh wait, this is still funny.
Yeah, and I mean, comedy I always say comedy is the Champions League, to be honest, because it's just that for instance, like it's when it's about jokes. First of all, you tell a joke, it's a bad joke, that's the worst thing that can happen, right? And then, but when a film pulls it off, it's always great, and I would love to do a comedy at some point.
Another thing about the film, which I don't know if anyone noticed, is that you never reveal the location. You never say what town, what city. It's somewhere. I'm assuming this is a very deliberate choice.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, what does it add if you say this is Berlin or Hamburg or, except for the financiers who will cheer, like, because in Germany you have these funds that, like, local funds that provide money to films, and then of course they love to see the city. But in this case, I was really like, no. Let's try and make this universal. Let's try and make a film that could actually take place anywhere.
What was did your financiers really beg you to do one thing, or did they have any good notes that you actually said, actually, that's a good note, I'm going to put that in?
Yeah, one good note was that we can start this film later. So the first 20 pages, we threw away the first 20 pages after, like, in the second draft, because the film started with a how do you say, when you first have your talk with your employee, is
like a teacher's a conference?
No. When you apply for a job and you
interview,
job interview. Thank you. Like, it was like a job interview where she was talking about her private life, kind of, and you had the dean saying, yeah, oh, you're a math teacher, I'll do math as well, and and then you start little by little into the story. But one of the very good comments was, you can actually start this story with the scene that you just saw with the interrogation, and everything before, like, those were 19 or 20 pages or something, we just threw them away.
Did your financiers or producers say anything? Because you never definitively say if she did steal the money. It's implied strongly, but it could have been someone wearing a different shirt. So did they ever say, could you make it more definitive?
They didn't say, could you make it more definitive, but when I sometimes like to go on Letterboxd, that's like the IMDb of our times, the new,
sure.
And and read the comments, and some people are really mad at the film that it's not being revealed who done it. And I always thought, it's not about that. It's about, it's not about that. It's about how every society needs a scapegoat, and how we when there is a crisis, you have that in politics oftentimes, how you just have to make a pawn sacrifice to keep the system going. And I like to be confronted as an audience with my own prejudice and my own assumptions. And one of the comments on Letterboxd, I thought it was very smart. The guy said, I think she did it, and I think you did it. And that's the point.
I'm obviously not going to ask you to reveal this here, but do you have a definitive thing whether or not she stole the money?
I don't, but I have I had this moment where we had a table read, and so a table read is where all the actors gather and at one table, and you read the script through. And Eva, the actor who's playing Mrs. Kuhn, she's a very emotional person, and not just emotional, also smart. And after the table read, I asked those 20-something people in the room, how many of you think she did it? And like almost everyone raised their arms. And I looked at Eva, and she was almost weeping. She was like, how can you think that? She because she was advocating for her character, right? And I said to her, you know what? If they all think that you're guilty, then we must just go the other way. We need to work against that. So let's make her innocent.
Oh, interesting. Oh, so that's a definitive thing.
My direction to her was, she's completely innocent. I want you to act as if you're innocent.
Got it. So it's not got it. So that's your direction, but not necessarily the film's answer.
No, the film's answer is up to you.
Right, exactly. I just wanted to distinguish that. So have you listened people's conversations. Like one of the things I've always found is like after a movie gets out, everyone goes to the bathroom, and I've had some director friends say to me, who are not known directors, they'll just hang out in the bathroom and listen to what people are saying to get like the unfiltered, like what people are really thinking about a movie. So have you listened to what people are saying about the film? And
No, I mean, no, I don't go to toilets anymore. No, I
well, not necessarily the toilet, but you know what I mean, like listening to what people are actually saying.
I read the comments in the internet. I listen to the podcast that mention the film, of course. I mean, I've been really lucky with this film because we got so much love for it. I don't know if I would still be listening to the stuff if the film wasn't received that well. But yeah, of course, like you make a film, you make it for an audience. You want to know what the audience thinks. You want to, and at the same time, it's key that you can. I mean, it's obvious that you cannot make a film for an audience. You need to make your film first and foremost. But you hope that the film that you make for yourself also resonates with a lot of people. So this is kind of a sometimes tricky thing. So I try to think of my audience, but at the same time, I'm like, am I thinking of the audience right now, or am I bending kind of,
Sure.
So.
I'm not sure how the film is played in Germany, but has it led to any conversations or people debating about the school system or anything like that?
Yeah, I always get these questions where people ask me about what do you think needs to be improved in the school system? And, politicians, I had like a couple of panels with politicians as well. And I always say, guys, I'm just a filmmaker. Just, there should be experts on this. But one thing I really don't understand, or I do understand, and I really don't approve of, was when I went to schools. I told you about my research time in schools, and I went back to school. So schools in Germany starts at 8 a.m. and I was sitting in that class, and everybody was almost about to sleep. Right? Because, it's 8 a.m. They got up at 7 or, even 6. And I was thinking, like, there is scientific proof that time of the day is not the optimal time to learn. It's like 10, 11. That's the time when kids actually learn the best. But for some reason, that never changes. And then I asked around and I thought, why is it like that? And people told me it's because parents can drop off their kids and go to work. So, it's a bit like that one sentence that the one of the teachers says in the film, like, we are just producing mini, units for our economy. Like, it's like we are getting them through the system so they can work for the economy. And that's one thing that I would probably want to improve. But yeah, I always steer clear of those questions because it's not, there's a lot of things that could be improved actually.
It's funny, I've read a lot of articles about how it would be so much better if schools were from 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 or later, as you said. It's not going to change because of the parents' work schedule.
Oh, and another thing that could be improved, of course, is, I mean, these teachers, they're overworked and underpaid.
100%.
And in Germany, we have a lack of 25,000 teachers because nobody wants to pick up this job anymore. It's just not worth it, and they need to be valued differently.
I have friends that are teachers and they're doing God's work, and I'm not joking when I say that. And I really do firmly believe that we should be. Teachers are doing. I could keep on going on about this, but I think about the scene in your film with all the parents yelling at your at the teacher, and it's like it's very frustrating because the parents put so much on the teacher and not anything on themselves.
Exactly, and I mean, back in the day when I went to school, my parents would say, "If the teacher says so, it must be right. Don't oppose the teacher." And now it's quite the opposite. Now it's like, why is my kid getting this bad grade? Isn't this your responsibility? So, there has been an erosion of this job, like the not just in terms of status, but also in terms of authority. The teacher is not an authority anymore. It's more like, and some teachers said to me, like, parents, they don't, all these parents, they want to be friends with their kids, and they don't teach them how to respect an authority. They expect us to teach that to them. But if they don't get that at home, they're not going to show any respect for my authority.
I completely agree. So you made this film, obviously, I guess, a year and a half ago. So what have you been writing / working on, and have you found it easier to be getting meetings with people about financing?
Yeah, that's one of the okay. Here's the thing. I was hustling for my projects a lot, like really. And my next project, I was setting up before this film came out, and my producer said to me, "We can only make this film by not earning a dime, and make it really, really low to no budget." And I said, "Okay, we're not doing this for the money." So then Berlin opened, and all of a sudden, everybody wanted to be on board. Everybody wanted to be part of my next film. And I realized, like, this is not, by the way, this is my 5th film. And I realized it's really not about the film or the stuff that you've written. It's about you as a stock. You're a stock. The filmmaker, the artist is a stock, and people want to be. It's like buying Apple shares,
Sure.
or shares. It's like they want to be part of that, and they want to be part of the possible success, because that has been successful now. Then they're thinking next one is going to be successful as well, so we should be on board. It's ridiculous.
You're saying the quiet stuff out loud.
Yeah, that's the fun part, huh?
I give you credit. But so because we're just about out of time, what are you directing next, or have you directed something?
Yeah, I told you about like how I had to protect this film. So now I'm making a film about, so I'm my family is of Turkish origin, and I'm making a film about this artist couple who's not aligned with the politics. They're the stars of the National Theater. She's an actor, like she's the main diva actor. He's a writer. And they lose their jobs overnight. And the film then, shows their everyday struggle, not knowing how to, cope with the situation. They have a child that needs to go to school, but, the private schools are too expensive. The public schools are under a severe agenda. And they are faced with the sellout of their artistic ideals as parents and artists. And it's a story about marriage. It's a story about how to keep your artistic integrity, and how to live a life where you can look in the mirror.
Does it have a title?
It's called Yellow Letters.
Yellow Letters. When are you going to film it?
We're actually prepping it right now. We're principal shooting starts in May.
Oh, so really soon.
It's right around the corner.
This is my last thing for you. Have you cast it up yet, or are you still casting?
Yeah, I have cast it up.
But you haven't announced.
We have actually announced, but you wouldn't know them, because I wanted to make sure it's really people who devoted their lives to theater. I wanted them to be, and I found actors from Turkey that are really just, have done a lot of theater and are not like TV stars or anything.
I really wish you nothing but the best on that, and I'm so happy for your success with this. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.